Well, I am sorry if you had Mike Evans. I am sorry if you needed like 10 points from Nico Collins and he went down. Obviously, a lot just happened tonight. I want to talk about it all, and I want to show you some updated rankings as well. And honestly, a lot of these I've not updated yet. We're going to have to do that together. But anyway, let me go ahead and let's pull up our first game that we will discuss. And I'm also going to say, what the hell are we doing? It's like 1 a.m. right now. You're making me stay up this late, NFL? I would like to be laying down, reading a nice book, going to bed, and it's 1 a.m. and I'm here live streaming. Anyway, we got to talk about the Lions and Bucs game first, right? So with Tampa, it was a big time surprise that we had both Mike Evans and Igbuka playing in this game. Like, I thought we weren't going to see Igbuka back until week 10 because the initial reports saying he was going to be missing a considerable amount of time. And then, look at the schedules like, okay, the Bucs have a bye week in week 9. So Igbuka is going to miss week 7, 8, and then get the natural rest in week 9. Then he'll be back at 100% in week 10. For Igbuka to suit up in this game, freaking warrior. And then obviously Mike Evans suits up. Mike Evans does draw some targets. It doesn't really even matter what happens with Mike Evans because Mike Evans is now done. Like, it's extremely sad. It was obviously scary when he went down. Turns out that he's not, it's not so much the concussion, the reason that he's going to miss. He is a broken clavicle. So with the broken clavicle, I've already removed Mike Evans from the rankings on the website. And I don't think you get Mike Evans back in. So realistically, what we need to look at now is how we are ranking the other Tampa wide receivers. I moved Igbuka up to an A-tier option. And obviously, I'll say, based off what just happened with Nico, I would rather have Igbuka than Nico Collins rest of season. I think we got to drop Nico an entire tier as well. And then if we're looking at Igbuka versus Drake London, it's tough to go through and say that you would clearly rather have London. Like, it is a really exciting setup for Igbuka rest of season. The concern that I had with him earlier in the year, which is why I was hesitant to rank him in A tier in our rest of season rankings, is I thought you would eventually get Chris Godwin and Mike Evans both fully healthy in this offense. And it looks like it's just simply not happening. So Igbuka, he is an A tier wide receiver. And going over and looking at where we move Chris Godwin to, I moved Chris Godwin into E tier alongside like Diggs, Terry, Worthy. I would love to say like, oh, we know Godwin's going to make a big time difference this season. Frankly, we have no idea. Dealing with not only the devastating repercussions of the injury that he had last season, but dealing with something on top of that as well. Going over and looking at the running backs, Rachaad White still remains a must-start running back every single week going to the future. He had 16 opportunities, 6 targets, 10 carries. Any game that you have no Bucky Irving, he's a 3-down player. You put him in your lineup. You had 50-plus dropbacks from Baker Mayfield in this game. The Detroit Lions led this from the very jump, right? I mean, they were able to just easily dominate Tampa, so it's not like you had the Bucs able to go out there and able to run the ball. Now, I don't know if there's anything else to discuss. I guess we can talk about Cade Otton. Cade Otton will be viable until you get Chris Godwin back in this offense. Like, realistically, I would probably put Cade Otton around tight end 20 in our rest of season ranks. But eventually, as you have Godwin and maybe even Jalen McMillan back in here, it's not going to be super exciting for Cade Otton. Now, let's move over. I guess you can talk about Baker's the same guy he was. I dropped him in my rankings just a bit because it's like, oh, okay, well, I'd rather have Drake May. I'd rather have Dak Prescott if Evans is out for the rest of the year. And Evans could come back for the NFL playoffs. And maybe he's back in week 16 or 17. Just if for fantasy purposes, don't bank on Mike Evans being anything this year. And then, I understand maybe we need to talk about Tez Johnson. We have so many games to talk about, and it is so late here. I will save Tez Johnson for the waiver wire video that's going to come out tomorrow morning. I just recorded that video. We talk about Tez Johnson in depth. So obviously, I know y'all are already subscribed, but if anybody else is watching this, just make sure you are subscribed and you'll see that waiver wire video in the morning. And I think we are about 200 subscribers away from hitting 300K. So Looks like it's actually going to happen. Looks like we may actually hit 300,000, which is just crazy. Now, anyway, with the Lions, nothing changes with Jared Goff. He's a streaming quarterback. In good matchups, you want to get him in. Bad matchups, you want to bench him. He has no rushing upside, so you always have a very low floor like what just happened here. Now, looking at the running back setup, it clearly, Jahmyr Gibbs crushes. Rankings coming into this, we had Jahmyr Gibbs no longer as an S-tier running back. We had Gibbs as an A-tier running back. We are advocating coming into this week, trying to package together a wide receiver 2 in Jahmyr Gibbs to pivot over to the true S-tier options, such as CMC, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson. And with Gibbs going over 200 yards today, with Jahmyr Gibbs just going absolutely nuclear, clearly that call's not looking great, right? He gets 17 carries, multiple rushing touchdowns, the big 78-yard run, and Jahmyr Gibbs has an 82 receiving yards. And it's not like this was done just with one big play. This was done in chunks. Over 200 total yards, 20 opportunities, 2 touchdowns, and now Jahmyr Gibbs is skyrocketing up if you are looking at his points per game. And you may want to sit here and go, oh my gosh, his points per game, is he up there with Bijan Robinson? No. Even though Jahmyr Gibbs drops the 37 bomb today, he's still nowhere close to the Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey range. He's averaging about 20 points per game. All those guys are 24 plus. I would still take Jahmyr Gibbs and send a wide receiver 2 to get to a true S-tier RB. But I think we should probably just take the L, and we probably should move Jahmyr Gibbs ahead of Devon Achane. I still think that you have Gibbs here behind CMC, Jonathan Taylor, and Bijan rest of season. Now, let me see if we have anything else to talk about with the running backs. Montgomery, I want to stand by what we've said for a while now with him. He's a premium handcuff back. If you were to get an injury to Jahmyr Gibbs, he's a top 3 running back, and he's probably RB4. I'd still rather have Bijan, CMC, as well as Jonathan Taylor ahead of him. But hypothetically, Gibbs goes down, David Montgomery jumps up to being a top 5 RB. No other running back in D tier or E tier have anything close to that kind of ceiling. So I still would say, like, rest of season rankings, I'm going to give the slight nod to David Montgomery here at RB22. I don't think we need to move him down much. Like, obviously, in my weekly rankings, y'all will see J.K. Dobbins ahead of Montgomery for quite some time. But it is what it is. Now, moving over to wide receiver, we have Amon-Ra St. Brown just continuing to dominate. I think with St. Brown, we need to say, like, why the hell did we not have him in S tier? We just need to expand the S tier where now there are 5 wide receivers in it. You have Puka, you have JSN, you have Lamb, you have Chase, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Realistically, like, if we go through and we look at what St. Brown has done so far this season, like, it's just been extremely consistent, as you always know that he will be. I mean, you're looking at back-to-back games with 10-plus targets, and the receiving touchdowns are just going to be there in a way that it won't be for other wide receivers in this range, because you always have the Detroit Lions at the top of projections when it comes to their actual point total. So touchdown upside is going to be easy to come by in this. Now, let's go over to Jameson Williams. With Jameson, copy and paste what we've said 1,000 times. He is a better real-life wide receiver than a fantasy option. He will stretch NFL defenses, allow life to be much easier for Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, and the running backs. However, he is not going to draw targets consistently where you can be excited to start him. He's averaging 4.29 targets per game this season. So realistically, I would rather have I'd rather have Myers and hope he gets traded. I don't think we need to move J-Mo down that much. I understand that, yes, Jameson Williams, if you started him, you probably couldn't be more pissed, and I completely understand. Like, for him to come out and give you the straight-up goose egg, this is who he always is. The week before he dropped 18.5 against KC, he scored 2 points. So in my mind, nothing's changed. I mean, I'd rather have Romeo Doubs. Doubs averaging 5 points per game more. So we'll have JMO at like wide receiver 45. Like you're never starting really any of these players. At least I hope not. And then looking at tight ends, we currently have Sam Laporta in his own tier as tight end 7. I don't necessarily think we need to move him down based off one bad performance. Now, let's move over. Is there anything else to talk about with Detroit? We got to the 2 running backs, the 2 wide receivers, the tight end, and the quarterback. I think that should be it. So I'm actually going to have to pull up the other screenshots. Give me 1 second to do this. And as I do this, you know what we can do together? We can take a little sneaky peek at the early pick'em projections on Underdog Fantasy this week, because it's going to take me a little bit of time to get these screenshots up. And I can also remind y'all that Underdog Fantasy is still the #1 sports app in the App Store. 1, they're an incredible app. 2, they're available in almost every single state. And 3, on top of that, they have the best promos in the industry right now. Some of my favorite early look ahead projections will be Saquon Barkley, lower than 105.5 total yards. Quentin Johnston, higher than 46.5 receiving yards for that Thursday night game. And if you use code FLOCK, you are going to be getting a free Justin Herbert pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for that game. Plus, you will get $100 added into your account after you play your first 5. And on top of that, you'll be getting free questions that you can ask in the live stream. And we're going to be streaming every single day until Christmas. The links, and like I said, available in almost every single state, which is a big reason why they are currently the #1 sports app in the App Store, as they've been for quite some time. But this game that we're going to have to talk about now was a very interesting one. I ripped this screenshot before they went ahead, took the knees. I will say the box score is not going to show this a ton. Obviously, if you watched the game, you saw it. But Woody Marks was out there a ton. Woody Marks was the running back for this team. Again, in terms of fantasy points, frankly, did it matter? I guess he scores a touchdown at the end. It was a nice little grab as well. I mean, it was broken play, blah, blah, blah. But they kept on trying to get him the ball at the goal line. But, I mean, obviously he comes through and he has 35 total yards. So it doesn't necessarily look like Woody Marks goes nuclear by any means. But he has 15 opportunities in this game. He's pretty much in there for the entire second half. And if we look at Woody Marks in our rankings, I think we can safely say, yeah, we had him way too low at this point. Like if he's the starting running back, he has receiving upside, he has juice, and there's not really any competition coming. It looks like Joe Mixon's just a flat out 0. I had Woody Marks at RB 37. Realistically, I have Tony Pollard on my own team. I would trade Tony Pollard for Woody Marks. If I had RGRV, Trevion Henderson, where they're just premium handcuff running backs, I would trade them for Woody Marks. If I had Isaiah Pacheco, who's averaging 7.8 points per game this season, I would trade him for Woody Marks. If I had Rachaad White, I'd trade him for Woody Marks. I think Woody Marks goes up in the range of like Ramondre, Jordan Mason, Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard. And now he's viable. Like he does look like he is the starting running back for the Texans. Going over and looking at the receivers. You have Jalen Noel leading this team among the wide receivers because Nico Collins goes down with the concussion. And honestly, maybe Jalen Noel would have led the team kind of regardless. But yeah, Nico Collins, it looks like it's not, I mean, this year is not what you've had over the past 2. Let's just put it that way. Like you go through and you look at the previous 2 seasons for Nico. He had been averaging 17.5 points per game both years. How many games has he had 17 points or more this season? Quick answer to that is 1. Let's refresh this and hopefully flockfantasy.com will have the stats loaded in. Come on. Do y'all have those Nico Collins updated stats for us so we don't have to just look at the ESPN RIP screenshots? Nope, they are not loaded. It's probably going to take a couple more minutes. So let's just go ahead and let's look back at this. So we have 10 targets, 4 receptions, 27 receiving yards. Every single time they threw in the ball, he had 0 inches of separation. And now you're dealing with the concussion, so you're going to have fewer games played than some of these other names. So who would y'all rather have rest of season? Courtland Sutton or Nico Collins? I may rather have Sutton. I think Nico's for sure no longer an A-tier wide receiver. I'm still starting Nico any week that he's healthy. So we're going to keep him in a respectable range. But I think I would easily rather have Pickens, Adams, Romes, as Sutton's right there. A.J. Brown's right there as well. I'm going to move Nico Collins down to wide receiver 14 in our rest of season ranks. We will see what the updates are with his practice reports as the week goes on. I'll be live streaming every single day, making sure that you stay up to date with those. And yeah, he may move up, he may move down with these ranks. This will be an instant reaction. There's no reason to even rank CJ Stroud. The dude's just not viable at any point, especially not with the Nico injury. Jalen Noel, do we remake the waiver wire video to include him in it? I guess you could look at Jalen Noel off waivers. He doesn't really profile to be anything like Nico. Like, I don't think he's a replacement for him. He's more so that replacement for Christian Kirk, which obviously Christian Kirk did miss this game. Like, if I was looking at the waiver wire options, realistically, would I rather have Tez Johnson or Jalen Noel? I'd probably rather have Tez Johnson. I'm going to put Jalen Noel wide receiver 60. I think I'd rather have Jalen Noel with the Nico stuff over probably Parker Washington. So I'll move Noel to wide receiver 60. And then with Dalton Schultz, we did give Schultz the bump up in the ranks where we moved him up to tight end 17 because realistically, similar setup to what you have with Cade Otton. It's like, I do not think Dalton Schultz is any good at the game of football. But if you have Christian Kirk and Nico Collins both injured, like realistically, Dalton Schultz will be drawing targets. He had 10 in this game. So if Nico's out, I don't want to start anybody in Houston. Woody Marks is playable. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, it is a disaster. Literally a disaster. Now let's move over to the Seattle Seahawks, where I think at this point we just have to flip the rankings. First off, Sam Darnold, you never start him. No reason ranking him. What we have to look at is Kenneth Walker versus Charbonnet. It's not like Charbonnet just randomly had the rushing touchdowns. When they get to the goal line, we've seen a large sample now where Charbonnet is their goal line running back. It wasn't just this game either. This has been the setup this year. Kenneth Walker gives you 17 carries, but you go through and you look at it, the dude had nothing as a receiver in this game either. Kenneth Walker gets you a whopping 6.6 points. If Kenneth Walker doesn't have the receiving role or the goal line role, he's unstartable. He has the empty, this is a far back, callback, but essentially, when you look at running back opportunities, obviously not all opportunities are created equal. The high value opportunities are the targets out of the backfield and the usage at the goal line. A great example of this is you can look back at a teammate of Green Bay Packers. If y'all remember the stretch of years where Aaron Jones was an elite player for the Packers, despite Jamal Williams seeing arguably, I don't want to say arguably, I think maybe more touches per game than Aaron Jones. But the thing was, Jamal Williams just got the meaningless carries in between the 20-yard lines. Aaron Jones got everything as a receiver, and Aaron Jones got everything when they got to the red zone. So Aaron Jones had all the touchdowns, and he had all the receiving, where Jamal Williams was nothing in Green Bay. You would never consider starting him. That looks like it's the setup of Kenneth Walker here in Seattle right now. Realistically, I think I have to move Kenneth Walker down to be an F tier running back. These guys that like they're premium handcuffs. I would never start them outside of an injury to their backfield mate. I think we have to move him down to RB31 inside the other handcuff tier with like Henderson, RG Harvey, and Rachaad White. And then obviously Zach Charbonnet does look viable at this point. Am I going to sit here and say like, oh, Zach Charbonnet is about to be our savior? No. Like I think you throw Zach Charbonnet in the tier, and I don't care which way you rank these two players, but as long as they're in the correct tier. I think you throw Zach Charbonnet in the range of guys that's like, hey, I'm never really excited to start Charbs. Because again, you actually did have Kenneth Walker touching the ball more than him this game. If the touchdown's not there, it's going to be a hideous. His efficiency has been horrible this year. But if you were making me start a Seattle Seahawk, I'd probably opt to go with Zach Charbonnet between the two of them, given the red zone role. But again, I don't want to start either. But you can kind of say the same thing about Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard right now, where it looks like they're going to split the backfield 50-50 in Carolina. And I'm not interested in a running back that's in a 50-50 committee for the Panthers either. So I think Charbonnet kind of falls in that same tier. If you want to move him up to RB26, you can. Don't get me wrong. I'll move him to RB31 here. I just want to make sure that we do officially have him over Kenneth Walker in our rankings. They've been just slowly but surely closing in on each other all season, where we've had Charbonnet going up. We've had Kenneth Walker going down. I think this was the last nail in the coffin where we can just go ahead and officially make Zach Charbonnet ranked ahead of Walker. But I think that's all we're going to have for this live stream. Obviously, we'll continue to give you all updates every single day. I'll be live streaming until Christmas. And if you want to get free questions for those streams, where you can always get your questions in, you can just take advantage of the offer on Underdog Fantasy. Or if you go over to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code FLOCK, you will get $100 added into your account after you play your first 5. You'll get a free Justin Herbert pick, higher, lower, half a total yard for the Thursday night game. And on top of that, okay, I see everybody is talking about JSN. How much higher are you want me to move JSN? We have him only behind Puka Nacua. I don't think I can move JSN ahead of Puka. Puka was averaging 26 points per game before the injury, and Puka seems like he's going to be back after the bye. So, and if y'all remember, if y'all were hanging out with us during those Underdog Best Ball streams all offseason, who was my favorite third-round wide receiver? Who was I, quote-unquote, reaching on over Garrett Wilson and Marvin Harrison consistently? It was Jackson Smith-Njigba, baby. You know this is my guy. You know this is who we bet on this offseason. Sadly, I was not smart enough to draft him last offseason, but we learned our mistake. We corrected that. We went in. I would hope that JSN for my own teams outscores Puka rest of season, but I'm not putting JSN ahead of Puka in my rankings. I love the dude, and yes, incredible performance, but we're not going to make that swap just yet. But I think that's all I got for you. I appreciate you. And of course, like I said, if you know ball, you know always go take the JSN higher than whatever's receiving yards mark will be this next week on Underdog Fantasy. Links in the description, links in the comment section. Much love. Next time you'll see me, we may have 300,000 members of the flock, which will be really cool. Looks like there's a small chance we'll hit that by tomorrow. I think we're only like 200 subscribers away. And yes, I don't know ball. JSN is better than Puka, just like Chase Brown was a top 12 running back last Thursday night because he had a good game with everybody watching. Y'all are crazy. Okay. Y'all are just at this point baiting me, right? I know we spazzed on y'all with the Chase Brown stuff last week. It's too late it's 1 a.m. here. Y'all aren't going to get me baited on the Puka Nacua stuff. Puka Nacua, before he went down with an injury, 23, 27, 23, 36, 24 points. And it seems like he's going to go after the week 8 bye. So y'all can troll me. I had JSN wide receiver 2 coming into this game. JSN will stay wide receiver 2 coming out of this game. But appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen. and I hope I get to see you out with the live stream tomorrow.